wisdom,
prudentia,
justice,
justitia,
temperance,
temperantia,
courage.
fortitudo.
Applying ancient philosophy to modern life, this is the Sunday Stoic.
Welcome to the Sunday Stoic Podcast. This is Steve, coming to you from Conway, Arkansas, where it's spring. It's very nice out there. How are things going with you? I am double vaccinated now, or fully vaccinated now. I have both of my Pfizer shots, and didn't have too many effects actually from that, and we'll see. Hopefully it works against these variants and things. I can't believe this has been going on for a year now. But there are many things outside our power, as we have easily seen in the last year. I want to thank Jonathan for joining as a patron on patreon.com to support the show. Thank you, Jonathan, for doing that. I really appreciate it when folks find enough value in the show to reach out and support it. If you want to support the show, you can go to Patreon by going to www.patreon.com/SundayStoic. And lastly, also, I have some Sunday Stoic Challenge coins on Etsy. You can also get them by becoming a patron at the, I think, $10 level or above. But on Etsy, you can buy them as well. It says Carpe Diem on one side with the show logo, and on the back has a few sayings by Epictetus, so you can check that out. This week, we're going to do 3 readings from Epictetus, the Enchiridion 8, 9, and 10. And these, the first 2 readings really focus on the will, your will, which Epictetus equates to yourself, the things you want to do, and the inner locus of yourself, that little self-control, like your soul, as it were, that thing that controls you, or the thing that is you. And we often confuse other things as being part of us, and he wants us to focus on what truly is us, and to remind ourselves of what truly is our own, so that way when other things happen outside of that true self, we won't be as affected by them. And we're also going to talk a little bit about, once again, it has to do with the will, but we're going to talk about dealing with outside events. How do we prevent them from actually getting into our psyche, as it were, and influencing our happiness or our contentment? So that's what we're going to do this week. Before I move on, let me also just let you know that coming up this summer, I believe, and I'll put a link in the show description, we have a couple of conferences, Stoicon X conferences, that you might really be interested in. One is Stoicon X Women, so a conference on women and Stoicism. I think that'll be really interesting, and it's great to see that happening. And also Stoicism in the military, something that Donald Robertson's involved in. So you might want to check those out if you are interested in those topics.
The Enchiridion, Chapter 8. Ask not that events should happen as you will, but let your will be that events should happen as they do, and you shall have peace. The Enchiridion, Chapter 9. Sickness is a hindrance to the body, but not to the will, unless the will consents. Lameness is a hindrance to the leg, but not to the will. Say this to yourself at each event that happens, for you shall find that though it hinders something else, it will not hinder you. The Enchiridion, Chapter 10. When anything happens to you, always remember to turn to yourself and ask what faculty you have to deal with it. If you see a beautiful boy or a beautiful woman, you will find continence the faculty to exercise there. If trouble is laid on you, you will find endurance. If ribaldry, you will find patience. And if you train yourself in this habit, your impressions will not carry you away.
The first reading is often interpreted as amor fati, to love your fate. The idea is that if you always wish things were different, if you watch the news and you scream at the TV, if you wish that there was more justice in the world, if you wish that there was less poverty, if you wish that your car didn't break down, if you wish your brother was nicer to you, you're never going to find contentment. When you want the outside world to conform to your ideas, you will never be happy. So he says to wish things to happen as they do. Now, the hard part with that is when you see like racism in the world, you don't really want to be like, well, I wish there was racism in the world, right? But I think the way to think about this is to realize that the world is not your puppet. Your wishes don't change the world. When you see something happen, you can just say, okay, this is the way the world is, and I want the world to be the way it truly is. But maybe I can now do something to make the future world a little better. I can do something to change. I can't change now, and I can't change yesterday. But I can have an influence on later. So you don't have to be a passive bump on the log that just accepts horrible injustice, for example. You might not change it, but you can always know that you can do what you can do to make it better, or at least to try to make it better. And that's the most we can hope for. So if we can learn to love the world we're in, but to acknowledge that that we can make it better in the future, but not let the things we see crush us. And so I don't know if I could ever, quite embrace loving my fate. Once again, being like, oh, look, someone was murdered. I love that. That's not really what we're saying here. but it's hard to talk about it in a nuanced way to really grasp it. But I think our fate, our specific fate, are the things that happen to us. And when we can fully embrace it and not deny it, not pretend things aren't happening the way they are, if we can not live in denial, can embrace what's really happening, but acknowledge that we have power over what we do right now. And that might not change our fate, but we can be active participants in it as long as we don't sit there inactive, passive, and depressed over what has happened to us in the past. We can embrace that past and use it as rocket fuel for the future. The second reading continues with this idea of the will. So once again, the will is what he's focusing on here, this center of control inside yourself. Sickness, he says, impedes the body, but that's not you. Your will is in your brain, right? It is this part of you that makes choices, decisions, has desires, has aversions. That's the part of you where your invincible self lives, according to Epictetus. So sickness means, I have a head cold right now, so I can't do all the things I'd like to do, but I can still make decisions. I can still make choices based on the parameters available to me at the moment. Those parameters will change constantly, but I always have some choices to make, and I can always make the best choices I can in that situation. And that's what we need to focus on. We can't control the rules of the game, but we can play the game the best we can. And those rules might change. Every day is a different game. Every moment we find ourselves in a new situation. The contingency changes, and we have to make the best choices we can in that moment with the information available to us. Now he says sickness, for example, is an impediment to the body, not to the will, unless you consent to it. So if you start saying, oh, I'm so miserable. Oh, I feel so bad. I can't do anything. I can't even turn on the television. Oh, why am I sick? That's you consenting to the impression that all of you is sick. Now, you're going, when you're sick, it doesn't mean you can just do whatever you want, but you can bear it, and you can find in that new niche that you find yourself in, this new space you're in, this is the space of you being sick, you have choices within that space. You can lament, be sad, and assent to how horrible things are. You can say, well, I am sick. This is a fact. However, I can still put on a Stoic podcast, or I can go to sleep and I'll just work on getting better. You can do so without adding moaning, lamentations, and gnashing of teeth on top of it. The last reading ties into this in a way where he says, no matter what happens, you have the faculties to deal with it. So when you're sick, you can find patience. When you're mad, you can find, once again, maybe patience, or you can find fortitude. But the important thing is, he says here, like when you're faced with big situations, you want to have trained for them. And he says here something very important, that we have to train not to let our impressions carry us away. So once again, I'm sick. The impression is, I'm sick. This is bad. This is horrible. Well, if we train every day, no matter what happens, like when you find yourself in a meeting and you're nervous, you can find courage. You can say, I'm going to find courage. When you find yourself in a traffic jam, you can say, okay, I need patience. If you verbalize it, if you actually say it, it makes it real. It makes it more likely to affect your behavior and your attitude. I've been trying this in the morning as part of my, kind of crappy morning routine, where I remind myself, today, I've got to go to work. I got to be a dad. I got to do this, but I also need to keep my will aligned with nature. I need to not be upset and not get mad when things go wrong, because that's one of my weaknesses. But if I say this out loud, and if I remind myself throughout the day of my goals, I'm more likely to stick to them. When anger flashes up, so does my maxim, keep your will aligned with nature. It comes up too, and they can counteract one another. If you don't train, you just read it once and go, yeah, that's a good idea. It's not going to become an automatic response. It's not going to be there when you need it. Stoic activities like reminding yourself of what faculty you have to deal with problems are like a Swiss Army knife. There's all these different tools here that we can use when events arise. However, if we don't practice using them, we won't know how to use them, and they'll become rusted shut, and they will not be available to us, or we'll forget they're even there. That's the problem I have. I forget I have the tool. I have it right there in my pocket, but because I haven't rehearsed it, I haven't practiced it, I forget. So this is the importance of training. And training, we don't have the luxury of going to a Stoic school and spending years of intense training. We are training in the moment, in life, trial by fire, as they say, or learning to swim by jumping in the pool. We are training as we're going, but hopefully we can train with everyday events. And then when more serious things occur, we will know where that tool is in that Swiss Army knife of Stoic skills, and it will help us to get through it. All right, so that's what I got for you this week. Remember, you can support the show. You can send me an email to let me know what you think, sundaystoic@gmail.com, and check out those Stoic conferences that are coming up. They look really cool. So I'll catch you later. Remember to practice, and seize that day. Carpe diem.
Thank you for listening to The Sunday Stoic. If you enjoyed the show, please subscribe, rate, and review The Sunday Stoic on iTunes. Become a member of the Sunday Stoic team, earn rewards, and be an integral part of the show by becoming a patron at www.patreon.com/SundayStoic. Contact the show by emailing sundaystoic@gmail.com or by leaving a voicemail at 501-503-3132. To find out more, visit www.sundaystoicpodcast.com. And as Steve always says, Carpe Diem.